I would like to talk to you guys about the effect of internet on Islam right now, because in 1430, Johann Gutenberg, he invented the printing press, and before that, literacy was a rare thing. No one could read and write, and there were only a very few people who could read because books were very expensive. And books are one thing that can transmit knowledge from one generation to another generation. And a letter can you can write down something on a letter, and someone would deliver it to a very far off place, and you would be able to tell what is happening there to that place. So writing is basically the best invention that humans ever did. But the the culmination of it, the peak of it, only arrives after you invent the printing press. Because before that, you had every book that was ever written, or anyone ever read, was written very painstakingly with the hand of a scribe. You know, every single letter had to be written with the feather or a pen in hand of a scribe, and he had to write it. And paper was nowhere to be found. It was invented in China. The paper was invented in China almost 2000 years ago, but no one else knew how to make paper from wood pulp in the world. So the only people who were making another kind of paper was the Egyptians and the Greeks, who knew how to do that. There was a special reed that was there in River Nile, which was known as papyrus, and they would extract that reed. They would extract the inner part of it, which was like a paste, and they would flatten it into sheets, and those sheets they would write on, and that was the earliest form of paper. And it was very, very rare. The other kind of thing was you would write something on animal skins, and to slaughter an animal for writing is not a very popular thing to do, and it's too expensive. So, and the leather was always used for all the other kind of things as well. So writing and reading was a rare thing. A very few people knew how to read and had ever touched a book, and there were even less, even a little number of people who knew how to write. So the only writing that was done was mostly in monasteries and religious places, where they would make copies of holy books, though it be Torah or the Arda Veraf Nimang or the Christian Bible or the Gospels or the Quran. They would do it like that. But when the printing press was invented, you could print 1,000 books in a day, and the books became common, stories became common, Bible was mass printed, and then people started to know that what the Bible was saying. Before that, whatever the pastor or the priest was going to read on during a Sunday sermon, that was the only those were the only things that people read. People knew about the Bible. People did not know how to read. But when the books became common and people started to learn, so then everyone had a Bible in their hands and they were reading. So when they started reading, only then they realized what was truly written in the Bible. Before that, no one knew what was written in the Bible. And then all hell broke loose. Then when everything came into writing, so different kind of knowledge from all over the world was being printed as books. And now when people had a larger knowledge base, then they started to compare different ideas. Now the people knew the Greek philosophy as well, and the Bible as well. The people knew what was happening in India, and the people knew what was happening in China, and people knew what was happening in America as well. People started to read books that talked about geology, cosmology, and all the other things as well. Biology and medicine were being developed at that time. And then, from all the knowledge, through experimentation, through observation, through all the other fields of knowledge, people were learning about the natural world. And then they started to compare what they had learned with what the Bible presented as a fact. And then the clash between science and religion and knowledge and religion started. And that is from where the downfall of Christianity started. And Christianity has not been able to recover since then. But with the Islamic world, the story is very different. All of the Islamic world is just not 2 years, 200 years old into this printing press thing. Most of the Islamic countries only started their printing presses during the last century. And when even the printing presses were there, the newspapers were there, nothing against Islam was ever printed. Ali Dashti published his book, and 84 years of age, he died in one of Iran's prisons because his book was critical of Islam. So, this is what kept happening. And, with books, there is a problem. For a book, if you have to give a book to someone, if you want someone to read a book that is critical of Islam, you have to physically deliver that book to them. And Islam, if you are criticizing Islam and you come into contact with an Islamic Muslim, an extremist Muslim, your head is gone. Sartan se juda will happen. So it was almost impossible. So early in the 2000s, the internet revolution started. Computers became a major thing. But with computer, even internet and access to information was a difficult thing. Desktop computers were the first thing to come, and the whole household would only have one desktop computer. And people would not know what is happening. Only a few people in the household would have complete private access to that. But in the 2010s, what started was the mobile phone revolution. The smartphone came. I think one of the key moments of this century was when Steve Jobs unveiled the first smartphone in the world, that was the iPhone. The screen is in our hand now. We have everything on the screen. We can read books on the screen. We can scroll down and we can watch Ghalib Kamal's videos. We can watch Faith Freedom. We can read faithfreedom.org. We can read Wiki Islam. We can, search books written by different critiques of Islam. We can have Stanek verses on our phone, and no one would know that, okay, Stanek verses is there on my phone. No one would know anything, whatever I'm reading. So today, this kind of privacy, this anonymity on the internet is one thing that it puts a distance between Ghalib Kamal and, Khadim Hussain Rizvi or Saad Hussain Rizvi. That's why Ghalib Kamal is able to at least say what he wants to say. So today, this distance between us and this situation of privacy that the internet has provided, it is going to kill Islam much quicker than the printing press killed Christianity. And eventually it is going to happen. Mark my words, it is not going to take more than 200 years. It could be much quicker. It could be way quicker. Only in the last 4 or 5 years, the people have truly started to criticize Islam through the social media and internet and YouTube and everything else. Earlier, this thing was nowhere. It was unheard of. So now, I think Islam's days are also numbered like Christianity, and Islam is also going to go out with a bang. And they are going to bang before that, but their days are numbered. So that's it. Islam, you just fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride. Islam is not going to survive the internet and smartphone revolution. It's not going to do that.